So you've done the deep dive down queer theory and found out it bumped into just about every other social context known to man.
Again, if I had graduated at a different time, if COVID had not happened, if the SCA had not decided to implement this new office, it required every single one of those things happening within a short amount of time to get me to where I am now. My research and my building of my there's a definite parallel between what I chose to do when I decided to do the research and try to accurately and respectfully play a Romani persona to taking on the job I have today. There is a definite parallel in making the decision to step into it. And I remember people coming to me and saying, if you take this office, you're not going to make any friends, and you're probably not going to rise in rank. And I went, oh no. I'd heard this before. It made me laugh. And that might be a bad thing to say, but it made me laugh because I was presented with the exact same things I heard back when I started playing a Romani persona.
If you do this and you're like, oh, why don't you just shove me in,
Yeah.
Now that we've said all this, which office do you currently hold?
I am Onstioran's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Officer.
Now that is a greater officer of state?
It is in the process of being made a greater officer of state. We are at the changeover right now. Previously it was not. It is a seneschal deputy.
Okay, but when the changeover takes place, you'll be considered co-equal with the seneschal, the principal herald, and so forth.
The DEIB officer will be considered a greater officer of state.
Now, let's back up, because I can certainly see how you got there, and this office, that the need opens up, the need is codified as an office, the office is given a name. I think we all watched this happen in one flavor or another. And you were not the first.
I was not.
But you're there now, so let's discuss.
I was the first post-COVID. I was the first back when we started meeting in person.
So you were the first one where there was a physical face we could all look at, not just a bunch of pixels on the screen.
Yes.
Did you know that had the restrictions been lifted when you took over the office, or were they in the process when you took over the office?
I became a deputy to the DEIB office. I was the accessibility consultant. Which, when I believe I took the office before the restrictions were lifted, but only by, by a short amount of time.
Did you have any inkling that you were about to become the first physical face people could get to talk to or yell at?
Did I know it? Yes. Did I acknowledge everything that came with that? Not at the time.
So, as with any bureaucracy, you put in the paperwork, you ask for the job, there probably was some sort of an interview or something, and
I got the office.
Now, this is where we get to either open the door or slam it. Is there anything about this office, from a personal standpoint, that you want to talk about, or do we just want to say, your work is your work, perhaps a different venue to talk about it?
It could certainly be its own episode. There is far too much to say, but the core of my job is education. It is providing the populace with the know-how. We all, I shouldn't say all, most of us have compassion, empathy. We don't assume ignorance, not malice.
It's like with your start, you worked with the information you had, and when you found out better, you changed.
There is a fantastic Maya Angelou quote that says, we do the best we can with what we have. When we know better, we do better. So my primary job is providing the populace with the know better. I have no punitive, I certainly have no coercive power. I am not here to say, you have to do it this way. My job is to say, here is the information. Please use it to help build
Now,
a better society.
To put a little bit of a detail on that,
Mm-hmm.
what type of information do you, like, and I'm saying this from a generic populist standpoint. So-and-so from some group has never heard of your office, and they are told by their seneschal, reach out to DEI and ask them questions. They have no idea what they're walking to. What type of information do you have available to you?
A myriad. And everyone has their own take on DEIB. Everyone who works in this office or has held this office society-wide is going to focus on different things, because we're all unique individuals, and when we're presented with information, our brains are going to say, ooh,
We bring our own lens and focus to any
Certainly.
conversation, absolutely.
to me, for me, we cannot, again with the quotes, and I wish I knew the author, please forgive me for not being able to accurately attribute this quote. People can only reach us so far as they've reached their self.
Okay.
That in interactions with people, their behavior is not necessarily a reflection of you. It is a reflection on where they are in their life, because we are all at different points in our life. So when two people come together, they can only engage with the other person from where they are. We cannot expect people to move to our level. We have to meet each other where we are.
So your big push is bridging those differences.
I believe in a personal, individual approach to DEIB. It is a learn who you are, learn how you want to be treated, understand how you view consent, understand what your boundaries are. And the more you look inward, the more you build up this personal knowledge of, these are my core values, these are my boundaries, this is what I will or will not tolerate. And I think there's a lot of heat on boundaries, because people might read boundaries as I am telling you how to behave. A boundary is me telling myself what I will accept. I am not trying to change anyone else's behavior, but I have the option to walk out of the room. And that is the core of what a boundary is. It's how we are worthy of compassion and respect and empathy solely based on us being individuals. There's nothing we have to do to earn that compassion or empathy or respect. So I deserve to be treated with respect. What does that mean to me? I love using I statements instead of vague third person. So an I statement example is, I do not particularly like to be touched. There are a few people I am okay giving hugs to, shoulder bumps to, handshakes, etc. A boundary of mine is, you approach me and ask for physical contact. Do not come up and I will not allow people to come up and touch me without asking my consent first. Notice how I stopped and changed my language. I said, I do not allow other people. And that kind of language is asking people to change their behavior. And that's not what a boundary is. A boundary is what I will accept.
My regular viewers, if you go all the way back, it was one of my single-digit episodes. And you might have seen it, where I talk about the protocol, the new traditions of when you do your greetings to people, stop and ask, do we hug?
Mm-hmm.
The prep for that video was largely, not entirely, but largely shaped on conversations with Castellana. There were 3 people specifically I had talked to, and I was drawing mostly off conversation. It wasn't that I ever talked with anyone about researching for that topic, but a lot of how I boiled that down was directly informed by how you had very succinctly informed me about this is the way it's going to be. And we have that relationship. Castellana can talk to me that way and there's no hard feelings, but I got given the punch list of this is the way it's going to be. Any questions? No good. Shut up. Okay.
I hopefully have never engaged with someone that way, not even you.
I had hugged 2 people, you were next in line, and I had given you one of the hugs, which was fairly typical for us previous to that, and you were in a hurry, you were chasing Kellen, he was much younger at the time, and you spun around, leveled a hard stare at me and gave me the, don't do that, here's what you need to do, don't ever do it again, any questions, no good, shut up, goodbye, and you walked off. And a lot of it was your typical theatrics, because you knew you could present to me that way perfectly fine. I don't want anyone thinking you were legitimately mad at me. But I just remember the boom, 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 boom. Okay?
Very good then.
But that a lot of that was what informed that video. And last I checked, the video was like 200 views or something. So your work, you can objectively say your work has that type of secondary effect.
I tend to go on tangents. I'm trying to stay.
We both do this,
I know.
so yes, you're right. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I'm trying to keep my mind on track here. I decided that I was going to start informing people that I did not want to be touched without directly being asked whether or not physical contact was okay with me. And just like anyone, it changes. Some days I have all the hugs inside me. Some days I am very spiky and I do not want to be touched. The way to know which one I am is simply to ask me.
So that becomes I mean, that's up there with, hi, how you doing, can we hug? And that's part of the daily protocol with you. Okay.
And it is not asking someone to change their behavior. It is asking them to acknowledge that this is a boundary for me. That person may choose to come up and glomp me, to come up and give me a big hug. My response, after sucking all the oxygen out of the room because someone surprised me with physical contact, is to not engage with that person again. It sounds harsh, but we have to do what is right for us. We have to do what is best for our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health. But and it is nitpicky work. It is nitpicky internal work. But in developing all these boundaries for myself, I now have a greater understanding and more compassion when someone tells me this is a boundary, because I have done that work myself. That is the center for the way I view DEIB. It is when we heal ourselves, we heal as a community. But if we refuse to look inward, then...
And when you say look inward, I'm going to fill in a presumptive blank, even though I know it's the wrong answer. When in today's society we hear a lot of you need, we need, I need to look inward, the presumptive target audience there are white middle-aged men. And I was just gonna, that's what I wanna draw out here. You are saying that holistically and inclusively of
Everybody.
everyone. And it's,
It
everyone
does-
needs to understand who they are, where they're coming from,
Yes.
and,
Because we cannot compassionately, truly, we may be able to fake it, but we cannot truly connect compassionately and respectfully with other people until we know our own core values.
and that's applicable, actually, this is a question. I imagine that's applicable to a 60-year-old who's set in their ways.
To a 15-year-old who's,
And that does lead to an interesting question, because I don't know how many 15-year-olds watch my channel, but I know a lot of parents watch my channel. And there are a lot of kids in the SCA. We see an explosion in youth in the SCA. At what age do these concepts really enter into parlance for, I mean, I engage with children at events.
day one.
Okay, so this is part of mom, dad, bathroom, this is part
Day
of
one.
vocabulary and self-identity.
Mhm.
Okay, okay.
Children are humans, and they deserve the same amount of compassion and respect as adults do. There is a certain level of parenting that involves steering the child away from dangerous, harmful,
Please make sure you have all your fingers and toes so you can learn that lesson, but
but a child does not come into the world a blank slate for parents to
yeah.
mold the way they want them. The child is an individual and deserves the same, ask consent. They deserve the same amount of compassion. They deserve the same amount of respect. When we start seeing more and more youth being raised, knowing that they have a say in their own life, we will see a huge shift in inclusiveness and belonging.
This is something tangential, but the fact that I just rewatched Dead Poet Society, and keeping in mind the year that was made relative to this conversation, that comment is both timely and timeless at a rather disturbing consistency.